Well, hi there. My name is China, and if you are anything like me, you have attempted to make sourdough starter from scratch and probably failed once or four times. A few months ago, I was gifted a starter by my good friend Vicky, and she left me with the task of just simply keeping it alive. I figured by getting an already started starter and just simply having to feed it every day, it would be much easier for me than having to start a starter from scratch. So after having that discard and keeping him alive for several months, I decided I was ready to venture into making my own starter. I was curious if the knowledge that I learned from keeping my original starter alive would help me as I was trying to create my new starter myself. And as I attempted to do it, I realized it is so much easier than the internet makes it out to be. I'm not sure what it is about sourdough that people need to overcomplicate it so intensely, but today we are going to make it as simple as possible. So I'm going to get my ingredients and supplies together. We're talking a whole 4 things here, guys. And then we are going to make a sourdough starter together from scratch. So I'll make sure to show you guys every step of the journey through the next week. But today, for day 1 to get started, we need to get a few supplies together. So your starter is going to need a house. You're going to need a mason jar or some sort of jar that you can put a little cover on. I personally recommend, after trial and tribulation, doing a wide mouth jar versus a regular mouth jar. The reason being, when you go to mix your flour and water together every day to feed your starter, it is going to be much easier in this flat top to get everything clean and all incorporated, whereas with this neck and the bend in the neck, it's a bit harder to get everything clean and get all that starter incorporated. So I highly recommend a wide mouth jar. This is a pint and it works totally fine. I usually will do a wide mouth quart jar. I just unfortunately don't have any that are clean right now that are available. So I'm just going to show you guys in a pint jar, and we're going to start fresh with that. My pint jar. So I've got my wide mouth pint jar. I have some flour in my 5-gallon bucket. You're going to need some filtered water, so bottled water or water through a filtered system in your house. And then you're going to need some sort of cover to put on the top of the jar when you're done. So I will either use these cute little jar covers. You can get them from like a bunch of people have them on like Etsy shops and different stuff. So I'll either take these jar covers when I'm done and put that right over the top, or fun trick, you can take a paper towel and then put that over the top like that, and then just put a ring, like a mason jar ring over it to hold the paper towel on. Either way works. This one will get gross, I recommend. So we've got our jar, we've got our flour, we've got our little cap, we'll get some water. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our jar, make sure your jar is clean. I feel like that goes without saying, but maybe it doesn't. So make sure your jar is clean. But we have our jar and we have our flour. This is where I feel like things start to get complicated, is how much flour to water you need to put in the jar. I was taught it's more about the consistency of the starter. So worry less about exactly how much flour and water you're putting in there, and worry more about getting like a pancake, maybe close to like a waffle batter consistency. You want like a nice thick batter, basically, is what this is. I find when you get too caught up in the measurements, you can end up screwing up, because if you just look at it, the starter is going to tell you how it's doing. So I'm going to go ahead and just do 1/3 cup flour. Again, you can do a 1/2 cup, you could do a 1/4 cup. It does not matter. This is about texture and it's about flour to water ratios. I am simply using 1/3 cup because I only have a pint jar, and if I do any more than that, it's going to be too full. So for my pint jar, I've decided to do 1/3 cup flour. I'm going to go get some water. And I went and got 1/3 cup water. I don't know if I'm going to need it all, but I'm going to dump it all in here so you guys can see what a 1/3 cup water and 1/3 cup flour looks like together. So I'm going to add that together, and then I'm just going to mix away. I'm actually pretty happy with that. So I mixed up 1/3 cup flour with 1/3 cup water. I mixed it really, really good. So you guys can kind of see that consistency there. It's like a thicker pancake waffle batter. So I hate to break it to the internet, but that is it for now. I mean, we are going to have more steps, obviously, and we will have to feed him every day for the next week or so to get him active. It's really not that complicated to start sourdough starter. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put his little hat on, and then he's going to sit on the counter overnight tonight. And then tomorrow we have to come back and feed him. And I will share every step of the journey over the next week as we get him from flour water mixture to active bubbly starter. In about a week, we will be able to use him, and I will show you all the ways I use my starter as well. So if you're like me and you're not somebody who wants to stretch and fold all day, there is still so much use for a sourdough starter, and I cannot wait to share some of my favorites. So tonight, go ahead and get your starter going, and then tomorrow I'll show you how to feed it, and we will just simply go from there. I'll walk you through some of the specifics, and we can talk discarding and other things as we get to it, but we do not need to overcomplicate it. It is just really not necessary. So until tomorrow, this little guy's going to go on the shelf and go to bed. We will feed him in the morning, and I cannot wait to share that entire process with you. As someone who attempted to make their own sourdough starter multiple times, I really hope this series will be helpful for you and will simplify the process that has just been overcomplicated for literally no reason whatsoever. So if you enjoyed starting out this process with me and you are going to make a starter as well, make sure you like this video and drop a comment so I know. I am excited to share this journey with some of you guys, and I hope someone out there will make a starter with me, especially if you've been anxious to get it going. And if you haven't already, feel free to hit that subscribe button and follow along so you can make sure to get the full sourdough series as I walk you through every single day to get this bad boy active. We appreciate you guys so much, and until tomorrow, don't forget our motto here at Little V Farm. Anything grows if you try.